Some people coming. Good morning. The Committee for Parole is called to order. Today's date is August 5th, 2026. The time is 8:39 a.m. My name is Chuck Tillis, and I will be serving as chair today. My colleagues are on Zoom, Ms. Jerry Ledoux and Mr. Steve Prater. We're at the DOC office here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Staff, would you say your name for the record, please?
Jason Thompson. Sherelle Lee Bryant.
Thank you. Could I get your name and DOC number, please? Are you on mute?
Yes, sir. Caleb Givens, 742-649.
Okay. Is there any staff in there with you?
Yes, sir. My name is Corporal Piggott, Piggott.
Thank you so much. Whose case is this? Prater. Mr. Prater is going to be asking you some questions today. He's handling your case. And I'm going to ask Mr. Prater to go ahead and take over.
Yes, sir. Let me get my paperwork straight here. All right, for Caleb Givens, you're charged with battery of a dating partner. You pled guilty to disturbing the peace by fighting, and that's supposedly a violation of condition 4. Could you tell me about that a little bit?
Yes, sir. First, like I said, good morning. How you doing?
I'm
I ain't plead guilty. I pleaded no contest.
Okay.
I pleaded no contest to disturb the peace by fighting, and they gave me credit for time served, 101 days. A little bit about that. It really wasn't no situation. It was just I asked for a plea offer that would not violate my parole, and that's the charge they gave to me. If I would have stood going to court, I would have had to be coming back in front of y'all with an open charge. So I just got out of the court system late. I've been through it multiple times. But I can say that I'm blessed. I'm blessed that I was able to get that charge down off of me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree with that. That's a serious thing, even though you pled no contest, you're saying, but you had to serve 101 days, plus you have a protective order in place. Is that correct?
Yeah, additional protective order on the victim was in place and for the court system. You feel me? Throughout the whole case, the victim never came to court. You heard me? But yeah, I guess it's protocol, sir. It's out my reach, it's out my range. And me answering this question right now, it's really like me lying to you. But all I can say is really protocol.
Okay, well, you got to convince me somehow that it didn't occur, because we had an anonymous call that said that two people walking down the street and one was hitting the other one.
Right.
And did I say something wrong?
No, sir. I'm just listening. Still waking up.
Okay. And let's see. She said, and then the victim said you hit her with something in your hand, and then something was wrapped in a white rag, and you threatened to kill her kids and her.
Right.
And on May the 28th of 2026, at the preliminary hearing, you admitted to doing this.
Sir, May 28th at the preliminary hearing that occurred right here in the same exact office, I pleaded no contest to all that. Matter of fact, I asked Mr. Jason Thornton, my parole officer, and I think her name is Maggie. It started with an M, but I asked them, what's the meaning of no contest? They both told me, meaning that you're not saying you're involved in it and you're not saying you're guilty. I played no contest. And my original words to them was, my parole officer already told me that I still have to come in front of y'all, because even though I played it out to no contest on disturbing the peace by fighting, it's still saying I was involved in criminal activity regardless if the charge would have got thrown out or not. So either way the cut go, it's like, I don't know, it was like a lose-lose situation for me. You feel me? But I play no contest on both. I love my kids to death. You feel me? I love them to death. And I can't wait to get back to them and and hold them again. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm gonna tell you, sir, I'm blessed for this sit down. These 180 days that I've been in jail, I'm blessed. The reason why I'm telling you I'm blessed because my peace rage is way more better. I'm more humble. I'm way more focused on making my life better, not just for myself anymore, but the person that I'm in love with, my kids, so they don't have to go through none of these steps that I went through. I've been doing this as a juvenile. I'm blessed because I wake up every day with a purpose and a meaning now. At first, it was never none of that. I never had a meaning. I never had a purpose what life was. I took it as a joke. But right now, I can tell you, sir, honestly, I'm blessed because I had this chance to come sit down and get my head together. I'm ready to get back to my churn. I'm ready to watch them walk across the stage in schools and stuff like that. I'm
And
blessed.
where were you working when you were out of jail?
I was working at PMI for about like a month, and I got a lawsuit on PMI right now because PMI tried to force me into see what the kind of work we was doing was cleaning tanks. PMI tried to force me into a tank while my asthma was acting up, and they had no medical staff on the job site. So right now, my papa is handling that lawsuit for me right now, and they just waiting for me to come back home right now. The lawyer and my papa for the settlement.
So where are you going to go to work when you get
Uh,
out?
my brother got all right. It's two places I could go to work at right now. My brother got a job for me. He owned two. Well, he don't own, but he rented two wing stops. One in Cancun, one in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Both of them in Louisiana. Then I got my oldest brother. He worked for G&J, and he said he could get me on working over there as soon as I come home. Long as I can pass a drug screen, they both could get me on.
What would you be doing over there?
J is he in a freezer. I ain't asked too much. Yeah, I didn't never ask him too much about it, but he do the shipping stuff in the freezer, like packaging and stuff like that. I guess Wingstop, fry station, something like that. Anything will work though. Anything will work to see where I
Okay.
come from.
Does your asthma keep you from working?
No, no, sir. It's just like at PMI, you deal with a lot of chemicals. So I guess the chemicals must have flared up my asthma again. My asthma only act up once a year, like around the month of December. And I gotta go get a steroid shot. And I told my boss that when I was working for PMI, and he took 40 hours away from me. Took 40 hours that I worked for hard from me. So like I guess I went with the lawsuit mode. That's the only way I could settle that.
Okay. Well, okay, I don't, so we need to hear from Miss Gant. Miss
Mr.
Gant, would
Pre-
you introduce yourself? And
Mr. Prater,
yes,
let me correct a few things I made. I need to get a questionnaire. Do you have a questionnaire in front of you, Mr. Caleb?
A question there. What's that?
We're gonna put it up. Did you sign that?
Yeah, hold on. I don't
You
think
did?
I have that sheet though.
Okay. Yeah, it's a copy of your signature. And also, we're at the Patterson City Jail. Do you want to go and proceed with this hearing?
Huh?
Do you want to proceed with this hearing?
Do I want to proceed with the hearing?
Yes.
What that mean?
It was a formality. I should have asked you this question prior to you answering all.
Prior to me having counsel?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm protected by God. I'll
Okay.
proceed.
Okay, good. Mr. Prater, you can proceed.
okay, thank you, thank you. And I didn't, something was wrong with my computer and I didn't hear the introduction. That's why I was kind of taken by surprise. And so I didn't ask other questions either. So I appreciate you clearing that up. Let's see here, Mr. Gibbons, I'm looking to see your girlfriend. Now she's gonna speak to us, right?
Uh, that's the question. Well, she unmuted herself. I can see that.
Okay, Miss Gant, talk to us about this incident.
Yes, sir. I had to end up sending in an email letter to y'all.
Okay, so you don't want to speak to it, you just want us to read the email.
If y'all need me to speak, I can speak.
Well, It's always better to have somebody to answer questions. Did he hit you?
We both was basically hitting one another.
Okay. Did he hit you with something in a rag?
No, I did not state that. It was a lot because I know the system down there, they don't like him. So with the person who called in the anonymous call, see, I just wanted him to leave the house basically so he can calm down. I didn't want to go press charges or any of that. Like I told him, I wasn't going to do none of that. I just wanted him to leave the home.
Did he hit you with something in a rag?
No, sir.
So the police found a rag wrapped up, a tire iron wrapped up in a rag, just like you had said.
They wanted to search my vehicle for whatever reason. So I just let them search it, and whatever they found in there, that's what they had.
Has the police ever been called to y'all's house before?
No, because we don't get into it like that.
Have the police ever been called on y'all fighting before?
No, that was the first incident.
Does he have a protective order against you now?
Do he have one against me?
Excuse me. Do you have one against him? I said that wrong.
Oh, no, sir. I didn't file for anything. I didn't go to court. I didn't press charges. I didn't do any of that.
But did the court issue a protective order?
I'm not sure. I didn't get one. I didn't go to court or anything, and I didn't get
Well,
one.
we have evidence that it did. So.
But can you tell me what address they sent it to? Because I didn't receive it.
We don't have that address. That's between the court, but it just says in the sentence that he had served 101 days plus a protective order. Are y'all still boyfriend, girlfriend?
Yes.
I don't know how that can happen with a protective order. Okay. Your full-time date, Mr. Gibbons, your full-time date is in less than a year, but right at a year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I believe so. Yes, sir. I think it's August 7th of next year. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, what I'm thinking is that, okay, I'm thinking I'm ready to vote, but I'll turn it over to my fellow board members for any questions they have.
Ms. Ledoux, do you have any questions?
Well, I'm just very concerned because I am looking at order of protection issued in St. Mary on May of 2026, and the date that this order is in should be adhered to is in May of 28. So actually, according to this protective order, there should be no communication between Ms. Gant and Mr. Gibbons even now. And there would not be any contact unless the court rescinded this until 2028. So I believe that we're in violation right now, them being communicating, but I don't have any other questions. I'm just concerned about that. Thank you.
Ms. Grant, are you afraid of him?
Sir, can you repeat that?
Are you afraid of your boyfriend?
No, sir.
And you say this is the first time this has happened?
Yes, sir.
Do you guys plan to live together or still see each other?
We have kids together.
You have plans to live together or what?
I guess he don't have nowhere else to go. If he get out, where he gonna go? I'm the only one with a stable place.
Okay. Mr. Prater, are you ready to vote?
Yes, sir, I am. Okay, my vote is, and I just have one of 3 votes, but I think that you would be well served, and I think that your relationship with your girlfriend seemed to be somewhat volatile. And I think it'd be best served for you to spend some time in work release. I think this is the ideal situation for a work release. You have you a job, you make you some money, you be separate from her, you'll have time to continue your growth that you have experienced this time. And so my vote is that you be transferred to a DLC facility and you complete the rest of your sentence for the rest of the year in a work release situation.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ledoux?
I would prefer to see that work release have some type of domestic abuse prevention training as well, because I believe that that's the genesis of your issue, is that you don't know how to treat um, women. But I'll concur, and I'll add that um, as an option as well. So I
Okay.
vote to revoke in lieu of revocation, transitional work program with potential of domestic protective intervention training.
Thank you so much. And I concur with my colleagues. Mr. Givens, that concludes ours. You have been revoked, and in lieu of revocation, Bill will be put on work release. And this ends our work here today. Good morning. My name is Chuck Tillis. I'm serving as chair for this committee this morning. My colleagues are on Zoom. Ms. Ledoux, Jerry Ledoux, and Mr. Steve Prater. We're at the Louisiana State Penitentiary this morning. Would you state your name and DLC number for the record, please?
PHILLIP SCHANE, 91217.
The staff there introduce themselves.
Deputy Warden Rochelle Ambo.
Reginald Admiral, classification.
Warren Shipley, inmate records. Jody Sargent, program consultant.
Thank you so much. Mr. Phillips, Mr. Prater is handling your case today. I guess we would, he will ask later for the visitors there to introduce themselves, but I'm gonna let Mr. Prater go ahead and start his interview, please.
Okay, Mr. Shane, is that the way you say it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, good morning to you.
Morning.
I know this is a exciting time for you, but it's also a very nervous time for you. A lot on the line here, and we'll try to make it as easy as possible. I've got quite a few questions, and I would imagine that my cohorts on the board have some questions for you later. But before we get into that, I'd like to hear what your side, what you did, why you did it, what you've been doing since you got caught and sentenced to jail, which has been 44 years ago, if my math is correct. Then I want to hear from the warden what he's got to say. And then we'll ask some questions after we talk to some of your supporters and some of those in opposition. So to start off with, it's your day, and you'll have a chance to answer some questions later too. So this isn't the only time you'll have an opportunity to say something, but now's a good place to start. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. As you said, I've been incarcerated for 47 years. Before I really get into anything, I'd like to begin by thanking y'all for giving me the opportunity today. If it's permissible, I'd like to apologize to the Fowles family ahead of this hearing. I can't even imagine how difficult it is for them to have to go through this. You know, the crime itself is, I know that I'm going to be asked a lot about that, which is understandable. And it's, you know, something obviously when you're preparing for a hearing like this, it's something that you think about even more than you ordinarily do. But as far as the crime is concerned, earlier in the week prior to the crime, my mother and I had met with my parole officer. And my parole officer had asked my mother if I'd been coming home on time for curfew. And when she told him no, he told her that the next time that I was late for curfew, she needed to call him and let him know, because that type of behavior needed to be corrected. And the next time I was late, that he was going to send me back to reform school. So the night of the crime, prior to leaving the house that night, I was going through the drawers in my mother's bedroom looking for a prescription medication. At that time, I had become so addicted to drugs that, as far as pills were concerned, I didn't care what they were. I would take whatever as long as it got me high. While I was going through her drawers searching for pills, I found a .22 caliber revolver that my Uncle Earl, who's a Texas Ranger, had given to my mother when we vacationed there the week earlier. And I pulled it and a box of shells out of the drawer, put them in my jacket pocket, and headed out for the night. Every Friday night, my friends and I would meet up at Happy Days Drive-In. And even though all of us were underage, a lot of us were allowed to purchase alcohol. So that's what we did that night. We spent several hours drinking, smoking weed, and popping pills is what I was doing. But a lot happened that night. But just to get to the details of the crime itself, which understandable. I hate even talking about it, but I know that it's necessary. I'd asked somebody what time it was. They told me it was 11:30. It was already 30 minutes past my curfew, so I headed home. I took the shortcut to my house, which was to cut through a vacant field. And as I was coming out of the field, it's a four-way stop right there. I saw some lights coming down the street. And thinking that it might be a police car patrolling the neighborhood, I ducked under a carport and hid behind a car. And when I did this, the back door opened, and Miss Faust asked, I could hear Miss Faust ask, "Who's there?" Well, when I heard that, I, tried to ease to the front of the car where I could, ease on off. But Miss Faust, who had taught me in elementary school, called me by name and said, "You're the one that's been breaking into my house. I'm going to call the police." Well, when she mentioned calling the police, I panicked. I was like, I could not go back to reform school, and that's all I was thinking. I'm in trouble. So I tried to talk her out of calling the police. When I was just to take a step back, when I was in reform school, and the reason that this was so harrowing is because the time that I had in reform school was very bad. Almost daily basis, I had to fight. And in the end, not even that saved me, because one night I got up late to use the bathroom. I was standing at the urinal. I got knocked behind the head. I was knocked out, and I was sexually assaulted. So I did not want to go back to reform school. So when Miss Faust went back in the house, I was trying to talk her out of calling the police. We had a confrontation by the phone. She ran for the front door. When she did, it's like I wasn't even thinking. I panicked. I pulled the pistol out of my pocket. I pointed it in her direction. I closed my eyes, and I pulled the trigger. And how many times I pulled the trigger, I don't know. All I know is that I pulled it again and again and again. It is obvious, but I need to say this. Ms. Faust did not deserve what I did to her. Her family doesn't deserve to have to live without their mother. But when we were in the house, Ms. Faust was trying to say something. So I went over to her. I knelt down on the side of her, and I leaned over to where I could hear. And she told me that she was sorry, and for me to take whatever I wanted. I didn't even have the courage to look at her. I said out loud, I didn't want anything. I was just trying to go home. And I got up and I went to the phone. I was going to try and call for help, but I knew that it was too late. I took Miss Fowle's purse and her car keys off of the kitchen table, and I left in her car. I drove to New Orleans, a place that I had never been in my life. And I spent that weekend drinking and taking pills and drugging, everything in an effort to try and erase or forget what I had done. That Sunday night, I drove back to New Iberia. I parked the car a few blocks from my house, and I went home. The next morning, I got up, I went to work. I was arrested later that afternoon, and when we got to the police station, I told them everything that had happened. But
Okay, but let's fast forward and we'll ask some more questions about that and about some other things. But what about your activities since you've been locked up?
I came as a I came as a 16-year-old kid, and the first 10 years of my life, you've been in law enforcement your whole life, so you know that things have changed, and here they've changed dramatically. Back at the time when I first came here, Angola was referred to as the bloodiest prison in the nation. And, I fell in with a crowd of people that I felt safe with, but the people that I was safe with, unfortunately, were drug dealers. They ran the card game. So, they all used heroin, which is something that I had never used. I began using heroin. So I used drugs, I dealt drugs. And as sad as it is to say, the first 10 years of my time in Angola just went by like a blur. I was in a drug addicted state that entire time. I was sitting on the yard one day with a couple of my friends, and we were smoking a a joint, passing it around. And one of my friends asked, he said, "Aren't y'all tired of doing this, the same thing day after day?" And I was. And I told him, I said, "Yeah." I said, "I am. Why?" And he said, "Well," he said, "the AA group that they have here, their leadership is having problems. And I'm thinking about running for that office and getting in there, and then we'll have a club that we can go to." So we ended up doing that. We got the sober group of Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I began attending AA, I used to sit in the back of the room and look at the speakers get behind the podium and share their stories. And I thought it was kind of degrading that someone would get up there and share such, things about themselves. I didn't know how they did it. I wasn't serious about the program. I was still drugging at that time. One day, a lady got up behind the podium, acknowledged being a heroin addict, and started telling a story. And it's like the story that she told, I could relate to. It's like she was sharing some of my story. And her story had an impact on me. When she got down from the podium, I went to the table. Her and her husband were there, and I sat down. I asked her a few questions. We started talking. And her husband ended up becoming my sponsor in AA. I got serious about AA. I got serious about wanting to be clean. And I've been a part of AA ever since then. I've been clean for 21 years. I would like to say that, from that time on, I've never had a hiccup. I've never had a bump. I've never had a write up. Unfortunately, that's not true. And despite I was in the Bible college, I graduated from the Bible college. Shortly before graduating the Bible college, the director of the Bible college and I had an issue about the ministry. I was carrying a small Bible to the transition unit. He wanted me to carry a big Bible. And I, like I told him, if the people that I go and minister to over there can't see that I'm a Christian by my activities, then I'm doing something wrong. We ended up having a disagreement about that. And long story short, I got out of the ministry. I went to the farm office to work for the farm manager. And 2000, I had been diagnosed with hepatitis C. I went through treatment one time. I ended up, after 4 months, I had to get off of treatment. I lost a lot of weight, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. When my blood was tested, my ALT levels were so high, they talked me into getting back on treatment. I tried it again. I ended up having to get off of treatment again for the same reason. About 6 months later, when I was tested, I was told by the liver specialist that my liver was being attacked, that I was going to develop cirrhosis of the liver, and that I was dying. And I asked him how long he was talking about, and he told me it could be a couple months, it could be a year. They weren't sure. So when I got back to the farm office, not even, the only thing I was thinking is that, and one of the biggest fears that all prisoners have is of dying in prison. And I didn't want to die in prison, so I escaped. I stayed gone for a couple of hours. I was brought back to Angola. Warden Kane and Warden Van Noy went to Natchez, Mississippi, and picked me up and brought me back. I spent 15 years in solitary confinement as a result of that escape. Having been raised in a dysfunctional home by a severely abusive father, when I was a kid, I was locked in closets and things like that. I developed claustrophobia. So being in a cell, a single man cell, was extremely hard to try and adapt to. I thought I was doing a pretty good job. We were transferred to Hunt. They opened a CCR tier at Hunt. And when I got there, a group of people were talking about escaping. At the same time, the juvenile issue, Miller and Graham, had just come out. So I had a realistic opportunity of getting out. When they asked me about escaping, I told them there was no way I was going to, get out of prison. And I ended up, ultimately, at the end of the day, I ended up participating in the escape. I've told people forever, that's not something that I wanted to be a part of, and that is absolutely true. But what is even more true than that is the fact that I did cut 2 bars out of my cell. I participated in that escape. I'm as guilty as they are for having done it. We didn't even get out off the tier. They returned us to Angola. I was put back on a CCR tier, and I met a classification officer named Miss Amber Victorio. And Miss Amber and I, would just conduct business and talk. She was a very nice person. And she ended up going to Warden Van Noy in 17 and asked him to let me off of CCR. First time she did that, he laughed at her. There's no way I'm letting him out of CCR. She went back to him again, a few months later. And it was like he said, okay, I'm gonna give him a chance. I'm gonna let him out. They came to Camp J, him, the Deputy Warden Lamartinaire, the Warden of Security Benjamin, came and talked to me at Camp J, told me they would send me to the CCR dorm. And I was released from the cell. I got in the dorm. They had class activities. I started participating in the classes. When I was a kid, I quit school because I felt
Let me
retarded.
stop you there for just a second. Let's get into that in a little bit. Let's continue your trek. Kind of speed it up a little bit for us. And what
Okay.
you're saying is extremely interesting to me. It'd be a really good documentary. But I'm sorry to say we don't have the amount of time that we do
Okay.
for a documentary. So continue with your trek through your prison life there.
Okay, sir. I can pretty much sum everything up just by saying this. When in the CCR, when I started taking these classes, and I realized that I actually could learn, I realized that I was good at this, that I could help other inmates. I started doing that. The administration and the lady that I worked for, Ms. Jody, gave me a chance. They made me a social mentor. I began facilitating classes. As of today, I've taken all of the classes in Angola. I have facilitated all of the life skill classes. And I presently facilitate victim awareness and celebrate recovery. So that's.
Yes, you got it. I've read through your entire file about Paws and being a volunteer in the Paws program and all of the different things, the letters from Warden Kane and the other wardens and the different things. But now I'd like to hear what the warden there at the prison says.
Good morning, Mr. Prater. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so Phillip Schane is a minimum A offender. He assigned to MAG 2 and he works as a mentor along with the PAWS program where he trained dogs to become service dogs for veterans. He's a graduate of the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. He completed TAPUCO, his 100-hour pre-release Inside Out DAS, T4C, substance abuse, victim awareness and letter training, more Compass, and he has a low tiger. He also complete any task that you give him on time. He has a positive work ethics. And he cooperates with staff when staff give him instructions. Since I've been here to 4 years, going on 5 years, I've been here, Phillip Schane has shown me nothing that speaks nothing about change. I mean, nothing but he has changed. I have not seen anything that I heard in the previous past about Phillip. Everything has been positive with Phillip. And I think Phillip probably is ready to go home after 44 years.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Warden. We appreciate that and value your input also. Well, let's move on now, and we're going to talk to two people that are in support. One is a friend of yours, Mr. Kyle Hebert, if I'm saying that correctly. And then we'll hear from Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project. So Kyle, would you start us off, and Mr. Hunley, would you finish us up?
I'd be honored, Mr. Prater. Great morning. My name is Kyle Hebert, and I'm a former incarcerate at the Louisiana State Penitentiary where I served 22 and a half years. And it's only by God's grace I made parole in December of 21. So I've been home 4 years. And like Phillip, I'm a graduate of the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. I completed my master's program while incarcerated and got my doctorate since I've been home. Today, I am a supervisor here at Deltac Manufacturers. I run the laser shop, shipping, as well as quality control. And I am the reentry chaplain at the Livingston Parish Detention Center. Like Phillip, I had a very shady and just a horrible former life after going, through prison. Prison became a mercy, and going through the seminary, and my faith was instilled. I was changed man, and I got to spend a lot of time with Phillip. I met him in 2000. I was entering the seminary at that time, so it was during the time of the hepatitis. I got to see him go through that, and I watched him go through his struggles after the escape, and he came back to the prison and was at CCR being the inmate minister. I had access to all the lockdown areas as well as the dorms. Got to spend a lot of quality time with Phillip, and now that I'm home, I go to the rodeo. I haven't missed a rodeo. As a matter of fact, I open up every rodeo in prayer. And I get to spend time with Phillip. I was part of the PAWS program. And also upon release, like Phillip, he's going to be going to the Parole Project, which I did 6 months. And it was just a blessing. But I've watched Phillip go from a very troubled individual to one who is remorseful, one who would definitely be a asset to the community. And Mr. Prater, I know the decision of this board is weighty, and I never want to demise or overstep the victim. I am in full respect of the victim, and I'm sorry, so sorry that this happened. And I'm just here to give you my heart of what I have witnessed firsthand with Phillip Schane. And look, I'm open for questions. My life is an open book, but I'm in full support of Phillip. And it has nothing to do with how much time that he has served, because there's no time in the world that can replace the crime that he committed. But I will say this, he's not the man that he was before. And I'm truly proud of him. I love Phillip, and I'm grateful for him. But you can ask me any questions, sir.
Well, I don't think I have any, but you were very succinct and very convincing in what you had to say, and I appreciate that, and I congratulate you on your work now and what
Yes,
you
sir.
accomplished throughout.
Thank you, sir.
Do any board members have any questions of? Okay, well, we'll move on to Mr. Hunley then. Mr. Hunley, would you wrap it up for the supporters, please, and tell us what you offer in your program?
Certainly. Good morning, Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project. Appearing today to confirm to the board that our organization continues to stand by Phillip. We've been involved with this process with Phillip since his first parole hearing, and then before that, whenever he was being considered for resentencing in court a few years back. Not to belabor the record that is already in front of you, and not to repeat things I'm sure that his attorney will also say, but we have a great deal of confidence in Phillip's ability to be successful if he's given parole, based on our appreciation of the totality of his record. I think Phillip's story can be told in at least a couple chapters, and not to minimize the earlier time in his life and the earlier time in his incarceration, but for the last couple decades, Phillip's record of rehabilitation, in our opinion, is very evident. I think the thing that we are amongst the things we're most impressed about is that he's an active member inside of his community, even when compared to individuals inside Angola who provide community service. He is someone who goes above and beyond, especially with his commitment to the PAUSE program and his ongoing long-term commitment for many people. It's an easy program to burn out on. And he's continued for several years to be involved and is recognized by staff and his peers as a leader in that program. And that tells us that he can do something, he can stick with it even whenever things get tough. He, as you see, he has an excellent record of rehabilitation, and he continues to be involved in self-help programming. I think what we see sometimes is people go through the programming, check all the boxes, and okay, I've done everything that the prison has to offer. I think in his case, he has continued, and even today is enrolled in programming that he could tell the board, I've done that years ago, but he continues that work. I think that at this point, at 63 years old, Phillip's very employable. I know the board's aware that Commissioner Kane has offered Phillip a job at Parchman. What we would say to the board is that it seems as this is sort of a sweet spot in our opinion, that if he were to be granted parole release in the near future, that he's employable today, which may not be the case 5 years from now or later into the future. The Parole Project stands by Phillip and offers the totality of our reentry program, which the board's very aware of. This parole board over almost the last decade has paroled over 100 juvenile lifers. Virtually all of them have come through our program. So we have a lot of experience in the reentry of someone who went to prison as a teenager and has served decades there. So in that instance, we're very confident in our ability and Phillip's ability to abide by the program rules. The specific suggestion we would make in Phillip's situation is that if he's granted parole, that he be granted to us to complete phase 1 of our program, and then to immediately be relocated to his Mississippi ICOTS to work at Parchman Prison. It's a very unique setup because generally people don't parole from one penitentiary to go work and live at another penitentiary. I think that what the board and the community could be confident in is that it would create an exceptional level of accountability around Phillip for him to work at Parchman, where he would have a community of support, but also if he strayed from expectations, it would become evident. So Parole Project would be more than willing for Phillip to be a long-term resident in our program. But because of that opportunity at Parchman, we would suggest a short stay with us, then a ICOTS transfer to Mississippi. And if the board would have any other questions about his reentry plan, we would stand ready to answer those. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hunley, we appreciate you and appreciate the work that your organization does under your leadership, and we appreciate that. And let's see, my board members have any questions for Mr. Hunley? Okay, well, we'll move on to those that are in opposition, and we will.
Mr. Prater, Mr.
Yes.
Prater, we're gonna, I hear from the attorney, his attorney.
Okay, I do not show him on my board, and he's not listed in the in those that are speaking, so I had no idea he was here.
Privilege and pleasure to represent Phillip Schane before this board this morning. I have represented Phillip Schane for over 8 years, and over that time, I've gotten to know him fairly well. And I can tell you, as have his supporters, that Phillip is a leader, the mentor and facilitator of multiple classes, including the victim awareness class. I can tell you about his dedicated faith journey, his early graduation from Bible college, and the endless hours he spends with the PAWS program, training service dogs for injured veterans. I can tell you about his decades-long maintenance of sobriety, certification, multiple times of every class available to him, his low Tiger score, his status as a Class A trustee, which is the most trusted status that an inmate can earn in Angola. And I imagine, when I try to put myself in your shoes, that one of the hardest parts of your position must be to try and discern whether the limited interaction that you have with him and the limited interaction that you have with those in opposition and the victim, that it is really difficult to discern whether or not you're developing an accurate picture of who this person truly is, whether they've grown, whether they've matured, whether they are genuinely remorseful, whether they've absorbed the information that they've received in all of these classes, or whether they are just ticking boxes. And I will say that in this case, what you have before you is the testimony, statements, recommendations from a bevy of experts in this field who are all in support of Phillip. You can rely on those opinions because those are people that have known Phillip for decades, that have spent 24/7 time with him in a prison setting, where if you have anger issues, where if you are deceptive, where if you are manipulative, those traits are going to show themselves in a prison setting, and people are going to be aware of them because you are being observed for 24 hours a day. And the experts that have seen his struggles, his history with those escapes, and also his triumphs over his lifetime, they can tell you that Phillip has truly been rehabilitated. Dr. John Simino, who's a highly respected psychologist in the field and whose report was included in your materials, he's regularly used by the state. He evaluated Phillip for multiple hours, gave him a post of psychological testing beginning in 2019. And he stated in his report, "I was particularly impressed that Mr. Schane seems to have found meaning, purpose, and passion for some of his work in Angola. He was honest in talking about the crime, as well as his escape and escape attempt, taking full responsibility for his poor decision-making in the past. He expresses severe remorse, appears to have developed a meaningful conscience. It does appear that Mr. Schane is not only capable of change for the better, but he has changed. The arrogance and manipulative nature of his behaviors that was noted in previous hearings was simply not evident during my extensive interviews with Mr. Schane or in any of the psychological test results." Jody Sturgeon, who's a transition specialist at Angola, who has known Phillip for many years, who testified at his Miller hearing and testified that she had never testified in support of any other person serving time at Angola. She taught Philip victim awareness, and then she co-taught the class with him. She said, "To me, Philip shows the epitome of remorse. He shows compassion for others. To me, he's truly remorseful for what he's done, and he just wants to give back in a way that shows he knows he made a mistake. He wants to do whatever is necessary, what he can do within his powers to just help others and to teach others not to do what he did, so no one else ends up in the predicament that he did as a 16-year-old child." Again, I know that you've seen these, but Daryl Benoit, who's a warden at Angola, who has known Philip for over 40 years. In fact, they both started at Angola at the same time. He wrote in a letter, "Philip must have arrived as an inmate at the prison around the same time I started working there 40 years ago. We were both very young then. Over the years, we basically grew up together. I have witnessed Philip mature, change, and improve himself across the years I have known him. From the time he came to Angola as a teenager to today, Philip has totally turned his life around." And I don't mean to emphasize his disciplinary record and the escapes that are on there, but I know that they have been a concern to the board in the past. I know that they are a concern to the family. And Warden Benoit, who picked Philip Schane up after his first escape attempt, was there when he attempted the second time, has said, "As a prison, we take escape seriously. However, I do not believe Philip's escape attempt and write-up for attempted escape should disqualify him from the opportunity for a second chance. And I do not believe that his escape means he would not do well in society if released. Philip's escape was wrong, but it does not tell me that he has not been rehabilitated, especially considering what he has accomplished since then." Philip's overall prison record is that of someone who has been a model inmate for the majority of his 43 years of incarceration. Again, Warden Kane, who is the former warden of Angola and is now the Commissioner of Corrections in Mississippi, has invited Philip to work among the hand-picked cohort of lifers he employs as chaplain at Parchment Prison. He wrote, "I also am a strong believer in redemption and rehabilitation. Philip is a Class A trustee and working in the prison as a mentor and facilitator. I know that he is using the skills he learned during Bible college to help others. Prisons depend on people like Philip to learn from their mistakes, set a good example for other inmates, and teach inmates positive life skills. Philip is doing that good work. The LSP administrators and staff have restored their trust in Philip, and I have too. I am confident that the Department of Corrections has accomplished its purpose of correcting the deviant behavior and preparing Philip for release into society. His continued incarceration would be for punishment and not for rehabilitation. The experts that have known Philip Schane for decades have had the chance to observe him for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the past 47 years, have observed him when no one was watching, where if you have issues, they are going to manifest themselves. The experts without reservation say that Philip has changed, that he's matured, that he's rehabilitated. Philip has a solid reentry plan, and we have no false illusions about how difficult the transition back into society is. However, he has also taken that next step very seriously, where he's put into place a very structured environment where he would go to the Louisiana Parole Project, he would continue maintaining his sobriety, he would continue working on himself the way he has dedicated himself to in the past decade or more. I really appreciate your time. I know that we've been long-winded, all of us, and so thank you so much for your patience and for considering Philip Shane's record.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I have
you.
a, wait, I have a question, excuse me. May I ask a question? In Exhibit 1 of the 256-page document we were provided, the letter from Warden Kane, Commissioner Kane, is dated July 10th, 2023. Do we have an update to that? Is that still a valid offer of employment?
Thank you. It is still a valid offer of employment. I believe that we included an updated letter from Warden Kane. It would have been signed, I believe, in June of this year. And he did renew his support of Phillip. Since he wrote that letter in 2023, Phillip has only continued to strive and continued to earn the trust of everyone around him and earn more certificates. So he does still have that offer open to him.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Are we gonna allow the guests to speak?
Okay, we appreciate that. Okay, we'll move on to, I've refreshed my screen now, and I have two more people that will be speaking. No, they won't be speaking, but Ashley, who is a legal member, is also in support. And Lori Dorsey is the sister who will not be speaking, but is also in support. Okay, we'll move on to those now that will be speaking in opposition. Okay, the first one, we'll save the last for the assistant district attorney. The first person, according to my list, that will be speaking will be on Zoom, Miss Nancy Marino. Miss Marino, are you on Zoom with us?
No.
Yeah, you can stand right on there, please.
Is that?
I can talk.
Yes.
I want to talk a minute about my mother. She was a teacher. She had
Speak louder.
Dominican College during the Depression. Her first teaching job was at Louisiana. She married and had 6 children. One thing she always taught us was always do the right thing. And you know what it is. This is that she taught all of us this. And prior to working with the Parole project, we never heard any "I'm sorry," nothing, no remorse, no apology. At a hearing in New Iberia, we had to listen to the very long saga of everything he'd ever done with an excuse for everything. There was no accountability. When his plea was rejected, by Judge DeMaia, he acted out, beating his fist on the table. And my question is, can he change? Can he control his emotions? Or is he just walking the walk, talking? Or is he just saying what he thinks we want to hear?
Okay.
I ask you to please honor my mother. And to
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, we appreciate those words. Let's move on now to headquarters. I think there are 3 people at headquarters, according to the information I have, that will be speaking. Miss Caroline Davis.
Good morning. Dear members of the board, my name is Caroline Davis. I'm the granddaughter of Laura Faust, the woman that Phillip Schane murdered November 2nd, 1979. I appreciate the opportunity to share the perspective of a family that has been living with the consequences of this crime for nearly 5 decades. I've listened to the parole hearing and I understand that Mr. Schane has spent many years participating in rehabilitation programs, earning educational achievements, mentoring others, and somewhat expressing remorse today, I do not discount that people can change. However, this hearing is not only about Mr. Shane, who he is today. It's also about what was permanently taken from my family. My grandmother was brutally shot and murdered. He ended her life in terror inside of her own home. She never had the opportunity to grow old, to enjoy retirement, to watch her grandchildren, for us to grow up, to celebrate birthdays, holidays, weddings, and the countless moments that make up a family's life. I was robbed of the chance to know my grandmother. I have one memory. Every other memory that I have is that from the day she was stolen from us, November 2nd, 1979. The greatest victim in this case has no voice before this board today. My mother lost her mother. This loss changed her forever. It changed our family forever. Trauma like this does not end after 5 years, 10 years, 47 years. It becomes part of a generation, and every generation follows. Ironically, Mr. Shane himself has acknowledged during his victim awareness training that the pain experienced by a victim's family lasts a lifetime. He's absolutely correct. My family is living proof of that. While I recognize his accomplishments while incarcerated, rehabilitation alone cannot erase the devastation and the irreversible consequences of his crime. I was also struck by the concerns expressed by the district attorney and the members of this board regarding the history of his escape attempts and the repeated patterns of making dangerous decisions when confronted with adversity. Those incidents occurred years after his conviction and well into him being an adult and being an adulthood. The board members themselves concluded that more time was necessary to demonstrate sustained judgment and public safety. And I respectfully agree with those concerns and still have those concerns. Parole is not simply recognition of rehabilitation. It is a determination that releasing an individual is appropriate in light of the crime committed, the interest of justice, the safety of the public, and the impact of the victim. For my family, justice has never been restored because justice cannot restore life. Nothing can give our grandmother back to us. Nothing can give my mother back her mother. Nothing can give back the years that my mother should have had with her own mother. Nothing can give my grandmother, nothing can give me the grandmother that I never got to know. Mr. Shane has lived for more than 47 years after taking my grandmother's life. He has had the opportunity to grow and learn, build relationships, discover faith, and envision the future. My grandmother was denied every one of those opportunities. As you consider this request for parole, I ask that you remember not only the man standing before you today, or sitting before you today, but also the woman whose life was ended because of his actions, and the family that continues to bear this loss every single day. On behalf of my family and in memory of my grandmother, Laura Faust, I respectfully ask that you deny parole. Thank you for your time and consideration, and for remembering victims whose lives cannot be restored. Respectfully, Caroline Davis.
Thank you.
All right, we appreciate that. Let's see, we'll now hear from Miss Amy Rottenberg. Miss Rottenberg, are you available?
She's not gonna speak. Mrs. Prater, she's not gonna speak.
She's here in support of the denial.
Claire, do you want to go ahead?
Good morning. My name is Claire Howington. I'm here with the 16th District Attorney's Office, and I'm here to oppose Mr. Shane's release on parole. I've been here before. I've been with this case since 2016, so I am very aware of the facts of this case. And look, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going over those. You've heard from Mr. Shane, and I think what you heard from Ms. Nancy and Ms. Caroline are very powerful, and they also sum up most of my thoughts about this matter too. So I don't need to repeat all of those, but I do want to highlight one of the things that when you think about this case, and it has always been something that I have tried to figure out why I'm so vehemently opposed to Mr. Shane being released on parole. And I was thinking about it, and one of the things that is really the hook for me is when we had this hearing in 2016, Mr. Shane got on the stand under oath, and he gave essentially the same story that we heard today about what happened when he murdered his spouse. But then he came back later and he said that her last words were, "I forgive you." And I couldn't wrap my head around that, because he had said previously that he went over to her and that she said, "I'm sorry, take what you want." He went to go call the police and he realized it was too late. So I couldn't fit those two things together. How does that timeline work out that it's too late, but she says, "I forgive you"? And the only conclusion that I could draw, and I hope this board draws that conclusion too, is that he lied about that. And I think the cruelty of lying about your loved one's last words in front of the family at that hearing, and to have them be "I forgive you," is something that I personally don't think I will ever get past. And I think that it just goes to show, yes, that's been some time, but I don't think he will ever be truly rehabilitated if he can impose that kind of cruelty on people who have already had their mother taken away from them. So for those reasons, I ask you to consider their comments and then deny parole.
Thank you. Mr. Prater.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we will hear from the DA's office, Miss Clave Havington.
She just went, sir. Let's move into the interview process.
Okay, well, my computer is, anyway, we won't get into all that. Okay, there were some things, Mr. Shane, that I think were very interesting that we need to discuss. Number one, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this the last escape attempt. Would you go over that again for me, please?
In 2009, we were at Hunt Correctional Center. I was still in CCR. Three guys asked me actually two guys asked me if I wanted to escape. I told them no. And as a result of that, they asked someone else who said yes. The way that the cells were set up, one guy was in cell 4, one guy was in cell 5, I was in cell 6, and the other guy was in cell 7. So the guy in cell 7, he and I were talking. He said, "Look, I know you're not going to go, but if you're not going to go with us, you need to get out of that cell, or you're going to go back to, you're going to get in trouble just like we are." And I asked Lieutenant Johnson, who's the supervisor, to move me to another cell. And he said he wasn't moving anybody at that time. When on the review board, I asked to be moved. I wasn't moved. Just in, frustration and really not thinking. I mean, I'm in a cell, I'm claustrophobic, I'm thinking in terms of I'm getting ready to go back to Angola for something that I didn't even do. I just, okay, I'm gonna go. So I got a hacksaw blade from one of them. I cut a couple of the bars. And that was in 2009.
Yes, sir. And
That was, Mr. Prater, if I may, that the reason, if you look at my record, my disciplinary record, that's the last write-up that I had. And that's not by coincidence. The reason that that's the last write-up that I had is because when I sat in administrative segregation with a write-up for attempted escape coming back to Angola, I had to stop and ask myself, what did I do? Why did I do this? What am I trying to run from? Because I'm not the type of person, I've watched enough TV to know when people escape, you always have somebody coming after you. You have to live looking over your shoulder. That's not the way that I've ever wanted to live. So why was I trying to escape? And I came to the conclusion when I got back into my Christian faith, I came to the conclusion that I wasn't trying to escape from prison. I never tried to escape from prison. I was trying to escape from myself. I did not like myself. I didn't like who I was. I didn't know how to change it, but I have changed who I am now. And that's why that happened, sir.
that's understandable. And okay. What about my other board members? Do y'all have any questions?
Ms. Ledoux, do you have any?
You know, as I mentioned earlier, there are 256 pages just in one of the 6 documents that we have reviewed. I've had all my questions answered at this time. Did Warden Vanoy know you were going to be coming up for parole today?
Yes, he did. We had 2 different things going on, so he attended one and I attended this.
So, okay. So he was aware of that. Okay.
He was aware. Yes, he was.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Warden, when was the last write-up before he said the last write-up was 11/10. When was the last one after that?
On board is called to order. Today is Monday, June 22nd, 2026.
His last write-up was, the one before that was 10/28. Oh, it's the same date for 17.
Okay. All right.
And before that, it was 2020, 2003.
Before that was 2023
I see it.
Yeah, one in 2023 for 30C, and then the next one would be the first escape.
I see. I understand. Thank you. I wanted to introduce his guests there. Would they introduce themselves for the record?
Y'all too. Say your name.
I'm Ashley Cusick. I'm a member of Phillip's legal team.
I'm Lori Dorsey. I'm his baby sister.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Prater, are you ready to vote?
Yes, sir. I'm not really ready to because this is such a difficult case. But it is incumbent on me since it was my case and I studied it extensively and I've listened very carefully to all of the I had 2 speakers going was what the problem was, and I apologize to the assistant district attorney for misidentifying her, but I did listen intently to everything that was said. And I'll just cut through the chase. I think Mr. Phillip Schane has done an excellent job since he has straightened up his life. I think it took him quite a while to do that. I think he did some immature things even when he was when he was mature. when he had reached the age of maturity. I listened intently to the victims and the assistant district attorney and the supporters, in particular Mr. Abair, I think what he had to say, and Mr. Hunley. And I read the letters from the other wardens, the previous wardens, and everything that's been said. And I still am not convinced that it's time for Mr. Shane to get out. Therefore, my vote is to deny his request for parole.
Ms. Ledoux.
As noted in the previous hearing, there was a need to see some additional years past his time of CCR. He has had 3 additional years, and those 3 years have been spent productively, in my opinion. I do believe that Mr. Shane has expressed remorse. At this time, I would grant conditional upon another 2 years of work within the facility. We have the ability to make our grant conditional upon additional resources. So I would like to see him continue his facilitation for another 2 years and then grant to the parole project.
Thank you. My vote today is going to be, I believe he's remorseful. He has done, kids do a lot of things that are stupid, in my opinion. I'm very sorry for the victims, and my vote today is going to be to grant also. But we need 3 votes to grant. So your vote today has been denied.
Hearing somebody, so I was
Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing. Hello. Well, how y'all gonna do that? 50 years. I got real. Good morning. My name is Chuck Tillis, and we're still at the Louisiana Penitentiary. I'm chairing today. My colleagues are on Zoom, Miss Jerry Ledoux and Mr. Steve Prater. Would you state your name and DLC number for the record, please?
My name is Adam COMEAUX. My DLC number is 112373.
Thank you.
Uh,
Today we're having a hearing and Ms. Ledoux is handling your case. I'm going to allow her to continue.
Mr. COMEAUX, you're before this panel today. As a juvenile lifer, you have 2 counts of first-degree murder. You were last seen in 2024. Tell me, what did you do at the age of 17 to bring you to incarceration?
What you mean, ma'am?
What did you do that caused you to be incarcerated?
Well, I committed a crime. I committed a crime. That's why I'm locked up. I was young at the time.
So what crime did you commit?
A murder charge. I just needed money to I was strained up in Paris, and I needed money to go home. You know, and I was young at the time, Stu.
Okay, so do you know the names of your victim?
Ruta Marcel and Ida Marcel.
Why should we consider early release today? Why should we look at getting you out of jail early today?
Well, I did a lot of work because I'm a changed man, and I deserve another chance, you know.
Okay. What is your job assignment there at the penitentiary?
I work at the garment factory. I make T-shirts.
Okay. What cell block are you in?
I'm not in the cell block. I'm up in a dome.
Which dorm? Which dorm, I mean. Which dorm?
Bruce 2.
Okay. Tell me what kind of classes you've taken since you've been incarcerated.
Well, I took thanking for a chain. I took victim awareness. You know, all that showed me how to be a better person, you know, not to be that person anymore.
Okay. Have you tried to get your GED?
No, I couldn't because I've been in a literacy class, but they
Okay.
signed me off.
Okay. And you've gained a skill in the garment factory, learning to operate the machines.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I think at this time you have Mr. Andrew Hunley, who is in support of your early release. And I would give Mr. Hunley a chance to speak on your behalf. Mr. Hunley.
Thank you, Ms. Ledoux, and thank you to this honorable board for giving us the opportunity to speak on Adam's behalf. The Louisiana Parole Project is here today to inform the board that if he should be granted parole, that we would welcome him into our program, and we would consider him a long-term client because of the, you know, to no fault of his own, he doesn't have a support network. He's outlived any support that he would have. Obviously, he has a long record within his incarceration. We believe that his record over the last several years indicates that he has worked towards his rehabilitation. He's taken classes since his previous hearing. He has taken the board's recommendation from his initial hearing and followed the recommendations of the board, which we appreciate, and displays to us that he's willing to follow direction when given to him. I can tell you, Ms. Ledoux, I sat with him yesterday one-on-one, and I know that he has some, you know, some cognitive issues that may make it difficult for him to express. For what it's worth, one-on-one, he was much more verbal, much more able to communicate remorse and communicate, you know, what he's done to change his life. So just putting it out there that I wish that he was telling you the same things that he told me yesterday, but I can tell you from my perspective, he is greatly remorseful, and he verbalized that he recognizes that his actions cause tremendous harm, but he has developed skills that we think, with the support our organization provides, that we can help him work towards independence. Our organization has the capacity and the willingness to provide him the support he needs, including a social work team that would ensure that all of his needs are met, and a reentry staff that would work with him to ensure that his housing and his long-term all opportunities that are available to him to be successful upon release would be there. Um, I think that as he gets older, obviously it's going to be more difficult to provide that transition. So we would ask the board. I know I'm always saying today is the best day to provide him release. I think after the amount of time he served over 4 decades, and his age today, and what we've seen in his institutional conduct record and his willingness to take part in programming, we think that he would comply with all of our program's expectations. But I think I'm not telling the board anything that you would know. He would be with us for a considerable time, and our organization commits to the board that we would not, not abandon him after a few months or even a year, but we would stand by him long term. He would probably be within our organization's broader community in the Baton Rouge area, which is away from the area where his crime was committed, for the foreseeable future. And I stand by ready to answer any other questions you may have. What I can offer is I am very satisfied with how he has communicated, not only with myself, but our reentry staff and our social work team. In the past, I wish that he was as communicative today, but also we have confidence based on the last several years of his incarceration and the record he's shown, especially since his last parole hearing, in a willingness to take the advice that's given to him. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have,
Ms. Ledoux,
yes,
could I ask him a question, please?
yes.
Mr.
of
Como?
course. Yeah.
Mr. Como, how are you this morning?
I'm doing okay.
Ms. Ledoux asked you some questions and you just said, I committed a crime. I'm here for that. Tell us, I'm not trying to case, but tell me what happened. And you know these people, she asked you that. Tell what happened.
I was young at the time.
How old were you?
I was 17 at the time when I committed the crime.
What kind of crime did you commit?
I committed a murder charge, a murder. you know. But I was young at the time. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. You know what I mean? I was young at the time. And I know it was wrong, you know what I mean? But I'm not that person anymore. You understand?
What made you be not that person anymore? What, you took classes or what?
Huh?
You took classes? Why are you not?
I took all the classes. That's why I changed. I don't want to be that person like that anymore.
What classes influence you the most?
Huh?
What classes influence you the most that you took?
Or thanking for a chance, or victim awareness, stuff like that. It showed me to be a better person. I ain't got to be that person like that anymore.
How long have you been incarcerated?
42 years.
Okay, you can go ahead, Ms. Ledoux. I'm sorry.
That's fine. We do have some people in opposition of your release, and I'd like to hear from the victim, Kevin Vassell. Also, Rhonda Vassell is there and not wishing to speak, but at this time, if Kevin will speak to the panel.
First of all, I'd like to start off by thanking the members of the panel for the opportunity to speak today. 24 short months ago, I stood at this very podium. I unzipped my heart and a part of my brain that for many, many years I've been trying to shut off. But unfortunately, I learned through the years that that's impossible. At least it is for me. On September 1st, 1985, my life changed from a happy-go-lucky, dumb 25-year-old kid who had no care, no worry in the world, to what my life is today. Someone that every single day of his life has been plagued with worry, fear, even being scared at times, but not for myself, but for the loved ones that complete my life. So that 24-year-old kid from back then now stands before you, a much older man of 66. But I thank God, after all these years, I still have the same fight I always had. In fact, it's probably now more than ever. I didn't start this fight. Adam COMEAUX did, when he chose to break out of a detention center in Hot Springs, Arkansas, take a bus down to Alexandria that evening. Now, I'm sure Adam would have left a little bit earlier, but he was busy then. He was too busy murdering and raping an 83-year-old woman with a Clorox bleach bottle, if I remember. Earlier that evening in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which to this day, as I mentioned 2 years ago, has never served one damn minute of time. He was never punished for that crime. Imagine what that family has gone through. So he arrives in Alexandria in the early evening of August 31st, and upon getting off the bus, he notices my godmother, Aunt Ida, crossing the street to spend the evening at my Aunt Ruby's house. They often spent the evenings at each other's house because, as you can imagine, they were elderly, they were alone, and they were scared. And later that evening after dark, Adam COMEAUX breaks a window in the back of the house, goes through the house and finds my two aunts, and then proceeds to grab the 3-foot cypress leaf doorstopper that my father made for Aunt Ruby. Then Adam COMEAUX beat them relentlessly until they were lifeless, and then after they were bludgeoned beyond belief and recognition, he chose to rape my 72-year-old Aunt Ruby. After that, he tried to rape my 63-year-old godmother, Aunt Ida. Now, 2 years ago, I stood here, and for some reason, I couldn't muster up the courage to mention this, but I'm going to do it now. My sweet Aunt Ida had a birth defect, making that impossible, which Adam COMEAUX reminded us at the trial when he said, I couldn't get it in the other one. And if that wasn't enough, he took the crucifix that was hanging above her door and plunged it into her stomach, into the stomach of my sweet godmother, Aunt Ida. Now, maybe, just maybe, you can clearly see where my hatred and my willingness to fight for this until the end comes. I think the two people that are impacted the most by this, other than myself, are my wife and my 23-year-old son, who is in his final year of graduate school at LSU, who deeply wanted to be here as he was 2 years ago. But today is the first day of football practice. I told him, I got this, don't worry about it. But I know he's here thinking of us. I have always, and more than likely always will, worry about my wife as she runs errands, constantly telling her to be careful and safe. I'm never comfortable until she's back home. And there's my son. Since he was born, I've worried about the worst things happening again, visualizing things that would make most people insane. I worried about him when he was 3, and I worry about him at 23 just as much. As a student at LSU, I worry about him doing the day-to-day things that goes on in a 23-year-old's life, coming back from class or returning from late-night football practice, or when he's out of town for an away game. All those worries will never stop, and they more than likely never will. And I apologize to my wife and my son many times for being this way. The 2 people I just spoke of are always getting on me, giving me a hard time for doing things by myself, without asking someone to help me when I try to lift something or taking on a task that I really use help with. I always say, I got this. It's no big deal. I can do this by myself. My son always tells me, Dad, you got a hard head. I guess it just makes me feel good doing these things, making me feel young again. The fact is, I'm not young anymore. So I hope they're closely listening, because I'm about to do something that will hopefully please them both. I'm going to ask someone for help. In fact, I'm asking this panel for help. I've learned through the years that there are some things that you need to help ask for. That's where. And since I know this is something I cannot do alone, I'm leaning on you for help. Help to keep this broken animal from ever being on the outside gates of Angola. Remember, this is someone whose crime was so horrible that a jury of 12 sentenced him to do 2 death penalties in 1986. But yet, here we are again. There are 2 types of people in this world, predators and prey. He is a predator, someone at the young age of 58 who is still very capable of doing this to some innocent woman in her 70s, or to a young woman, a young mother, or a daughter, or grandmother, or another 83-year-old woman in Arkansas, or even a 63-year-old godmother. Now, the funny thing is, I know that my 2 sweet aunts forgave him many, many years ago. But you see, they were better than I am. They were much better than I am. Remember, Adam COMEAUX created this. I did not. I ask you, if not beg you, to do the best thing for society. To vote the way you really feel in your heart and in your mind. Everyone in this room has family members like the ones I described. Just imagine if this was done to your family. I pray that no one ever has to go through this. But unfortunately, many do. I have promised myself to never give up this fight. Please help me with this. I'm not sure how long I have on this earth, but this fight for justice will end with me. I ask you to help me by simply doing the right thing. If not for society, for yourself. Adam COMEAUX has never done anything positive in his life that has ever benefited society, and he is not capable of change. Adam COMEAUX is an animal capable of 2 things, raping and murdering innocent, weak females. Do you really think he is capable of changing? I don't think so. And I also want to say that he's in jail for 2 murders, not 1. I would think after all these years, he would know that. Again, on behalf of my family, I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much. We also have members of the DA's office. John Branton will be speaking and Robert Murphy will not speak. But Mr. Branton, at this time, you'll address the panel.
According to the panel, thanks for the opportunity for us to speak here today. My name is Jonathan Branton. I'm here on behalf of District Attorney Phillip Terrell out of Rapides Parish. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, something that caught me today was Mr. COMEAUX saying that he needed a second chance. He's had that second chance. He's had many chances. His first chance when he was a juvenile, 16, 17 years old, when he tried to rape a young mother in Arkansas with her baby in the house. She was able to fight him off, and he escaped. He was placed in a juvenile facility on that attempted rape charge. He escaped. It's chance 2. Chance number 3, he raped and killed an 83-year-old woman in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Those capital murder charges are still pending. No justice has ever been served for Miss Agnes Kincannon or her family. 3 days later, after he killed Miss Kincannon in Arkansas, he took a bus to Alexandria, Louisiana by way of Dallas, as he, quote, in his own words, wanted a woman. He wasn't stranded in Rapides Parish, young kid down on his luck. He can't even tell the truth today. He wanted a woman. I won't go into the details that Mr. Wassell just did, but essentially, Mr. Comeaux, a predator, gets off the bus and stalks around town until he locates the home of those 2 lovely ladies, 2 sisters, Miss Ida and Miss Ruth. Breaking in through the back door, he uses a valuable family heirloom to bludgeon them both to death and attempts to rape their bodies. That's what he did with chance number 4. He confessed to all of these murders. He confessed to these actions. Ladies and gentlemen, 12 people in Rapides Parish sentenced this man to death. Now, the operation of the law since then, given his age at the time, means that we can't do that. That's not an available punishment anymore. But here's what we know. Aside from the violent acts that I've described Mr. Comeaux committing, when he has been given those second chances, when someone's tried to help him, when he's in a juvenile facility, the facility called Mr. Comeaux the absolute worst client they ever had. Mr. Comeaux, despite whatever programs he may be committed to in the last several years in his incarceration, has been written up 19 up to 2 dozen times while he's in prison. This man murdered 3 elderly women with no motive. In fact, he tried to lie today, saying that he was stranded in Rapides Parish with no money as a young kid. No, he went to Rapides Parish to hunt. He's a predator. And he found prey. Throughout the course of his sentencing, he has gotten the benefit of every break in the law regarding his sentence, the reduction of the death penalty, the reduction of his sentence of life without parole. There's only one possible avenue to justice here, and that is for Mr. Comeaux to die in prison, to serve the term handed out by a jury of 12 people in Rapides Parish back in 1996. No one can truly give justice to the deceased victims. Nobody can ever give justice truly to Mr. Wassell and his family. However, what this board can do is protect who's left. These murders were some of the most heinous acts of violence ever committed in our country. Allowing someone like Mr. Comeaux back on the street completely undermines not only our job, your job, and the state's job, but it's irresponsible and it's dangerous. This man has done nothing in his life but cause death and destruction. So, ladies and gentlemen, I won't tie anything up any further. I just want to say that on behalf of the Rapides Parish District Attorney's Office, Mr. Terrell, the Alexandria Police Department, the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office, and all of our other law enforcement agencies and partners, we would ask the board to, in the strongest possible terms, to deny any early relief for Mr. Comeaux and that he be forced to serve the sentence that he deserves. Thank you.
Do my colleagues have any other questions to ask Mr. Comeaux?
No, I'm good.
You know, I mention often how much information we have, and I have a significant amount of information in Mr. Comeaux's record. I have reviewed it carefully. I am prepared to vote, and today my vote is to deny parole. Mr. Comeaux has a very high static 99 score. He is has significant criminal history, even though he committed the last crime at 17. And I believe he still presents a risk to public safety. So my vote is to deny.
Mr. Prater,
Concur. Deny.
and I also concur with my colleagues. You've been denied today, and that ends our business at the Louisiana State. I'm sorry. Mr. COMEAUX, you've been denied today. Good morning. My name is Chuck Phillips. I'm chairing today. My colleagues are on Zoom, Ms. Jerry Ledoux and Mr. Steve Prater. Would you state your name and DLC number for the record, please?
Raymond Seals, 486139.
Thank you. The staff is still the same there, Warden?
Yes, I'm still
Thank you.
here.
Thank you. Mr. Seals, I have your case today. And I'd like for you to tell us what happened. What did you do to cause you to be incarcerated?
Well, I was from Fort Worth, Texas, but I went over to Shreveport to look for work and didn't find any work. And it got things, I survived for a month or two, but then I got kicked out of my apartment and I used up the 2 weeks. There's a 2-week maximum at the Salvation Army. So I didn't have anywhere to sleep that night. And I went to, well, I had $10. I got a 12-pack of beer and got drunk and robbed a Pizza Hut. I went in the store with my toy gun and I asked to speak to the manager, and that was Teresa Pleasant, was the acting manager at the time. And she went, she come up front and I told her it was a robbery. I didn't pull the gun or nothing. I just showed her the handle of it. And they even said in court, that's all they ever saw was a handle of a gun. I didn't raise my voice or nothing, but I did tell her it was a robbery and I wanted the money out of that cash register. She gave it to me and I asked her whose car was parked outside. This was 3 PM. There wasn't but 2 customers. And Teresa Pleasant told me it was another employee of hers, Crystal Rogers, and I asked for the keys to it. She gave me the keys. I left in the car and they picked me up about a week later in Colorado.
I see. Why do you feel that you should be released today?
Well, I started out having I've been here 21 years. I started out having a terrible conduct record, but I've got that straightened out. I hadn't had a write-up in 9 years, and I've taken all the required programs, and it has changed my mindset drastically. And my conduct record should speak for itself, that I've came a long way and that I've straightened myself up.
Is this your 3rd offense?
No, I never knew why they put multiple offender on there, because it was, oh, okay, yeah, in Texas I had 2 nonviolent crimes, 2 auto thefts, and I guess that's what you were talking about. So this armed robbery, counting it like that, felonies, it would be my 3rd.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Warden, do you have anything you can tell us about Mr. Raymond?
Okay, so Mr. Seals did not get a GED due to the fact that he was unable to pass the literacy program, so they gave him a waiver. Other than that, he has had 44 DV reports, the last being Route 11. He has taken classes like T4C, substance abuse, anger management. His tag is low. He haven't taken any reentry programs. So he haven't taken no reentry programs such as 100 hours or any of those yet. But that's due to the fact of his literacy and his Parkinson.
I I'm in
Hold on,
hundred, oh,
hold
I'm
on.
sorry,
Go ahead, Ms. Ledoux.
sorry.
I was asking about thinking for a change. Has he taken thinking for a change?
Actually,
Gordon?
he took Thank You for a Change in November of 2024.
Thank you.
I'm in 100 hours right now, and I'm in, victim awareness right now.
And that's been confirmed by Ms. Sturgeon, who's sitting right here with me. She said he is enrolled.
Okay, thank you so much. Which one of those classes you've taken that impressed you the most?
I'd have to say thanking for a change, because they explained to us the ripple effect, I think is what he called it. There's when you do a crime, it don't just affect the one victim that you, like in a robbery, it affects all her co-workers, it affects her family, it could affect the two customers that were there. And I think about that all the time. I have insomnia, so I sleep what little I sleep during the day, and I lay awake all night thinking about this. So I couldn't be more ashamed of myself, and I really just wish there was something I could do or something I could say to those people to make them understand that that was my first robbery ever. I did it because I was desperate. I didn't know where I was gonna sleep that night, and I didn't even know where my next meal was coming from. And I just wish I could explain that to the victims.
What kind of work do you do at the facility you're at now?
Well, I've got Parkinson's disease and Bell's palsy and COPD and scoliosis. So I'm not, they have me in a medical dorm. I don't do any work.
What would you do if you were released?
That's set up with the Louisiana Parole Project. They say it's taken care of. They put in already, I think, to get me a check started to live on every month. I'm 67 years old. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it, but I've got too many medical problems. My hands shake so bad I can't even write my name anymore, and I can't hold a cup of coffee.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear from Mr. Andrew at this time.
Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project, here to confirm that Raymond is a client of our organization. If he were to be granted parole release, he would be a long-term client of our organization. We're confident in his ability to succeed due to his age, length of incarceration, and his behavior within the institution in recent years. If to answer those specific questions you just had, because of his medical issues and his inability to work, he and his age, he's eligible for SSI. The organization would house him and apply for SSI immediately upon release. He would probably have that within a couple months, but the organization would provide for all of his needs long term. We would seek to have him with a transition him to elderly low income housing, but specifically a provider that could assist him with medical issues. I think there's going to come a time in hopefully not too soon, but in the future, where he's going to have to transition to a facility that can take care of his medical needs. In the interim, Parole Project commits to providing him housing and case management and help with through our social work team to ensure that all of his medical and social work needs are met, that our organization stands by ready to support him. We would, suggest that he's nearing release with some of the classes that he's taking, we would ask the board to consider if you would allow him to complete that programming and then release to our program after that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Huntley.
Mr. Huntley, I just want to make sure he doesn't fall between the cracks in his, transition from your intensive to a more long-term because of cognitive challenges perhaps and other things. You just hear my concern. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I could tell you is that where I would envision he would probably be with us a minimum of several months. And then the place that I envision he would transition to is a place that we have other clients living in a presence. So there wouldn't be a scenario where we dump them off to another provider and wash our hands. But I certainly hear your concerns and commit that if he's released, we'll have his back. Thank you.
Any of my colleagues have any questions? Mr. Prater?
No, sir, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
I would note that there's no victim opposition in this case.
Are you ready to vote?
Yes, sir, I am.
Ms. Ledoux?
I'm prepared after you vote, sir.
I'm sorry, it is my case. Mr. Seals, my vote today is going to be to deny. I don't think you've served enough time on a 60-year sentence. I think you've been in 21 years. So my vote today is going to be to deny.
My vote would be to grant parole upon completion of the current programming that he's in, the pre-release and the victim awareness class, and then to be sent to the parole project for a minimum of 6 months until appropriate placement can happen with all of his social needs met in terms of disability.
Mr. Prater?
I concur with Ms. Ledoux. I think that he's no threat to the public, and I would think that they could help him there at a parole project, but that's what I would have voted. But I just want to encourage you to keep doing right and behaving, and you'll be up again.
Okay. Today your request has been denied. You need a total of three votes. You only got 2. So this ends our business today at the Louisiana State Prison. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. We are at the St. Tammany Parish Jail. My name is Chuck Tillish, serving as chair today. My colleagues on Zoom are Gary Ledoux and Mr. Steve Prater. Would you state your name and DLC number for the record, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Eric NATH, DOC number 541687.
Thank you so much. Do you have a questionnaire with you?
Yes, sir.
Did you sign it?
Yes, sir. I signed it.
Okay, you're ready to go on with this hearing today?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Is any staff members there?
Yes, sir. Corporal Christopher Else.
Thank you so much. Ms. Ledoux will be handling your case today. Ms. Ledoux?
Good morning, Mr. Nath.
Hi, good morning.
Mr. Nath, you're before this panel because there are allegations of violations of your parole conditions. And I'm going to be reading out those conditions and ask you to enter a plea of guilty, guilty with a statement, or not guilty. Okay?
All right.
Okay, you're accused of violating condition number 2 on that 12/18/25 during a personal contact with your residents. You were instructed to report for the month of January. You failed to report to the parole officer for January, February, and March of 2026. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Okay.
And my statement for that is I was instructed to go to rehab. I wasn't instructed to go to see her. And that was a lie. I don't know if she no longer works there, but that's a blatant lie. And I actually went to rehab as she instructed to go to, and I stayed in rehab from 2/9 to the point that I was actually picked up and arrested on this charge, which were haphazardly dropped. That's my statement.
Okay. So that's that was number 4. On or about 4/3/2026, you were arrested for domestic abuse battery. What happened in court on 7/20/2026?
I was hoping that they would drop the charge, but they dropped it to a lesser charge. And
So what charge?
They dropped to a dating partner. So
To what?
offense with a dating partner, but I mean, I feel I acted in self-defense, but I mean,
Wait. The victim in this case was your father,
yeah,
Gabriel
he's
Knapp.
on the screen right now. My father, he's on the
Yeah, I see.
conference. I don't think he wanted me to get arrested. I was just
Okay.
trying to get back to my place in New Orleans.
Okay, I'll deal with that with him. So your plea, you're
Not guilty.
not guilty. Number 6, you failed to obtain employment after you stopped working at Robert's Grocery.
I'm still employed there. I can actually go back to work there. I just went to rehab. That's why I wasn't employed, because I was in rehab, So I'm not guilty on that either.
You failed to make monthly payments for your supervision fees. You're currently $1,010 in arrears.
I can make payments. I plead not guilty. I can actually get back with the payments now. Especially I'm back on track because I did do a tax return and did go towards it, and I did make some earlier in that year, but I had forgot my mental stuff going on with me. My autism, I forgot totally that I actually had to pay monthly because I used to be on drug court when they waived the fees, so I wasn't really thinking about it. My first time on parole, I really wasn't thinking too hard about it. But I definitely get back on track on it.
Mr. Nath, Gabriel, would you speak to the issue of the incident that happened at your home? Can you speak to that, please? You're on mute. So. Mr. Nath, you'll need to unmute your computer.
All right, Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. No, my son, under the instruction of the probation and parole officer, had actually gone to detox and to a 30-day rehab program in West Monroe. He returned back. Unfortunately, they sent him back to my home in Covington instead of his home in New Orleans. And, but we allowed him to stay here because he had an appointment with his psychiatrist and an appointment with a follow-up in regards to his mental state and issues with his detox. And so we allowed him. And so what happened was there was an incident where I gave him some time to get some of his belongings that he brought with him and some belongings he had left here previously so he can go back to New Orleans. He refused to leave after several hours, and I said, we need to go. And he just didn't want to do it. And so we got into an altercation where I had to grab him and basically try to put him in the vehicle, and that wasn't working out. At that point, I had contacted the sheriff's department in St. Tammany to see about removing him from my premises, from my home, and having him either go to the ER hospital across the street or go to a behavioral hospital for more treatment. I just felt that he wasn't ready, he wasn't balanced, he wasn't stable. And unfortunately, it got into a situation where we were almost having a wrestle. And I had no intent of getting him charged with anything other than removal and being sent to another facility or back to his home. And the outcome of the charges where they did reduce the charge to domestic partner as opposed to simple assault or battery. I don't know what it was, but they also gave, just to stay okay. So they said, that's fine. We reduced the charge and we can 894 it at some other point in the future.
Okay. Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Nath. What is your plan for him? I mean, are you going to put a protective order, stay away order or anything? I'm just asking.
No, we're not. We just don't want him to return to our house without our consent or without some restrictions. And unfortunately, Eric, even in the past, he's like overstayed his welcome, I guess you might say. But you know, Eric is 38 years old. We've been dealing with issues for the past 20 years. He is schizoaffective. He does have some mental issues, but when he's on his medications and everything, and he's in compliance, and he was for several years on behavioral health court in St. Tammany, he was fine. He was productive. He worked. He was independent. He paid his bills. And most recently, he came on to New Orleans parole and probation's jurisdiction because he was living in St. Tammany Parish for most of his life. And this was an opportunity for him to start anew. And unfortunately, that independence also caused him to have some more problems with his psychological aspects as well as his drug addictions and some of the things that brought him down. But he was employed, and he still has the opportunity to go back to his employer.
Okay, great. Okay, Eric, I read your entire file very carefully, and Eric, you've had help here and there, and the thing about it is you're very aware and open and honest about your needs, and you have some needs. You have a problem with drug addiction, and that compounds your mental health issues. Um, you've got to be stable. You've been in since April. Have you had any kind of mental health evaluation since you've been in?
I've just been like kind of just taking care of myself, like I've been just getting a lot into my writing, but I've been seeing the people here and I'm on meds right now and I'm doing fine. And I have been here 125 days. So I'm looking to try to go to treatment after and stay sober, because I've been sober now since 2009, off of alcohol and everything else. And I'm doing well. My mind's getting back to where it should be as far as my habits and stuff. And
Okay.
been feeling much better, you know, so more confident
Yes.
that I can handle life and get back to my job and do what I need to do and be responsible and be a part like for my dad, you know, where I don't have to depend on my family, you know.
Do my colleagues have any other questions? Have any questions of Mr. Knapp?
I do not, thank you.
So,
Mr.
Are you-
Nath,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm prepared to vote. After reviewing your file, you know, what you're saying right now is exactly what you need. You need some structure.
Right.
You need to get that help that you need. No one wants you to be out without the proper mindset, medical care, and treatment for you to be productive. That's the goal here. And unfortunately, the place that is going to be best for, in my mind, is a long-term substance abuse program within the confines of the Department of Correction. So my vote today is in lieu of revocation that you go to a substance abuse program in DOC until the um, and and have mental health evals and treatment. So that is my vote today.
Mr. Prater?
I concur with Ms. Ledoux on that, long-term substance abuse in lieu of revocation.
As I, today, in lieu of revocation, you'll be placed in a DOC location and, receive your treatment. Mr. Eric, and that ends everything today at,
I don't understand though, because I only had a year left of my parole, sir. Excuse me to interrupt, but I don't understand why. What am I being sentenced to? I don't understand.
drug facility.
In jail?
Yes.
I mean, but I only have a year left of my sentence, so I only had till 2027 is my parole end date. So how long am I going to be sentenced to? I don't understand.
You're sentenced to about a year and we're closing out at 11/26.
That's it, right? Sounds like they're, as long
That's a guy on the parole board.
There you go.
No, I'm just going. You sit right there because you're gonna be the one in front of the camera. Let me have my cup.
Depending on you right now. Breathe. Word. Be the word. Brother, I don't know, brother, I don't know where it's at or not.
Take out rooms. Please wait to be assigned. I don't know. This is like crazy. I haven't ever. This is the first time I've seen Zoom this way.
I don't know what that means. When it's
Nothing. This is a different window from what we had earlier today. But that's okay.
well, they're on.
Yeah, everybody's waiting. They'll pop up here in a minute.
Let them want to get it done. They're gonna get him done.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning. We're at the Franklin Parish Detention Center. My name is Chuck Tillis. I'll be chairing today for this committee. My colleagues are on Zoom, Mr. Steve Prater and Ms. Jerry Ledoux. Would you state your name and DOC number, please?
Robert B. Sanders. My DOC number is 613008.
Thank you. And the staff there, will they give their name for the record?
Good day, sir. My name's Sammy Burns.
Thank you so much for taking care of us today, Mr. Burns.
Yes, sir. You're quite welcome.
Okay. Mr. Sanders, I'll be handling your case today. I'm going to ask you some questions, read some violations. Well, first, do you have a questionnaire?
Yes, sir.
You signed it?
Yes, sir.
And you want to continue with this hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'll be reading some violations and you can answer guilty, not guilty, or with a statement. Rule number 4, you engaged in criminal activity evident by your arrest for the offense of a felony unlawfully using social networking. 2 counts. You were found to have 2 active social media accounts on your phone, which you were prohibited from processing. The next court date is pending charges in Franklinton Parish is set for 8/4/2026. How do you plead guilty or not guilty with the statement?
Not guilty, I guess.
You want to make a statement on it?
I will note, Mr. Tillis, when he went to court yesterday, I believe that the hearing was reset until October 12th. And the court was interested in the outcome of our hearing.
You went to court yesterday or on the 4th?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to continue this hearing or you want to wait until after the court hearing?
If I would like to actually do this after the court hearing, unless it's not going to make a bearing on how you guys feel about this either way.
I would like to hear your statement. I'd like to hear the statement prior to us just making a decision about continuance, Mr. Chairman, if that's acceptable to you.
Sure. Tell us what happened.
So they called us into the courthouse that morning, which is something that in the 4.5 years that I had been out on parole, I had never done. And I was aware that the social media was a thing. However, probably about a year prior, we had a guy that had come into the classes that had told us that we could have it, which I mean, still, I want to say that he said something about there was some kind of process to go through, which I hadn't had it on my phone long. And I wouldn't be trying to do this. I understand what I done was wrong. And it was an issue of complacency. I got comfortable and I shouldn't have done that. If I was doing anything predatory with it or trying to hurt people with it, I wouldn't be here in front of you guys today. I would have just went on and violated myself. Which I was using the Facebook to browse Marketplace and watch Reels, which I had been doing that before. It had been letting me backdoor into Marketplace without actually having the app or an account where I could just view what was for sale, and it locked me out. And the WhatsApp, I had no idea that that was a social media website or considered social media. I thought it was a texting app, and I was using it to communicate with a coworker who did not speak English. We were using it to translate because she was familiar with the platform. I understand that I broke in y'all's trust. All I can do is apologize and ask for mercy.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ms. Ledoux, does that satisfy you or do you want to ask some questions?
Well, I would like to go ahead and continue hearing this case. Um, I think that our decision will weigh heavily on the court's decision, and I have read through the case extensively and feel that we should hear him.
Okay, we'll move forward then. You have some people that are going to speak on your behalf. And that is Mr. Tommy Cotton, your pastor or a pastor.
My pastor, yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Cotton.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what you'd like us to know?
I would like to just say that Robert have been attending the church that I pastor, and I've been pastoring there going on 22 years. And he had been attending there, and that Robert had been faithful to church. He had been faithful in his worship, his attendance, and as far as my eye as a pastor, and we pastor out at 300 people, and I thought he was doing very well. I thought he was doing very well, you know, in every perspective. So when this here occurred, you know, it was kind of like, what in the world, you know? And then I questioned Robert myself, and he's told the same story, you know, repeated it over and over, you know, and said that same thing he told you, Your Honor. He said, I did not know that I was doing anything wrong because I would have come down on him as a pastor. You know, I would come down on him the Bible way. You know, so I'm here just to speak in his behalf, you know, and just praying that y'all would give him a chance and let him get back to church because that's where he was. He was at church when this took place. And he's given me his word and continually, you know, that I promise I'll be back there. He was there before this ever happened. So I'm here to give Robert just a good word. And
Thank you.
yes,
Sure.
sir.
Thank you, Pastor, and we appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I would like to hear from his father now, Mr. Sanders.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm Ralph Sanders, Robert's father. And I would like to reiterate something or say something. I wouldn't be standing here asking for mercy for my son if he'd have been doing something wrong, or let me say bad. If he'd have been trying to do something with social media that I knew of, I would not be standing in front of you right now as a father. And he'll tell you, I was rough on him as a kid. But I will say this, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. And if I had been judged for my mistakes, he made a mistake. Understand that he made a mistake the first time, and he's paid for that one. And I feel like he's paid a just reward for this mistake. And my son was doing well when he got out on parole for the last 4.5 years. Me and his mother bought him a travel trailer and set it up. He has replaced that with a mobile home, a nice mobile home. We had helped him. He had a truck when he went in. He had that truck. He had upgraded to another truck, and the truck that's sitting in my driveway right now is what he looked on Marketplace to find. And not to my knowledge, I didn't know that he shouldn't have had it on there, or that he had social media on his phone. But he was looking for trucks, and he shouldn't have been. before you understand that. And I'm still just coming to you, asking you to have to look at the picture and look at the whole picture and have mercy on somebody that just made a mistake. Because he was working 6 days a week, paying his own bills, making his own way, and nobody had to tell him to get up. Nobody had to tell him to go to work. And he's done that for the last 4.5 years. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your comment, Mr. Sanders. Any of my colleagues have any questions?
Mr. Tillis, Mr. Sanders was released on parole in 2021. And from the time that he was released, according to the agent that supervised him, he had actually multiple agents. I have not found not one violation that he missed a sex offender treatment class in 4.5 years. He never missed a class. He's never been behind on his fees. He's never had not one verbal reprimand. I am not in any way diminishing what he did, especially because it is the law. But I'm just saying that it struck me. As many as these cases as you and I have read, that struck me in a particular way. So I just wanted to say that I commend that behavior.
Thank you so much. Mr. Prater, do you have any comments?
Yes, sir. How long have you been in jail on this particular offense on your parole violation?
I was incarcerated on November 18th of 2025. So the 18th of this month should be 9 months.
And if we were to violate you today, you'd have to be in jail till 2033, correct?
Depending on how the Department of Corrections calculates my time and what they give me credit for or not. But
Correct. Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions.
All right, I'm going to call for an executive session, please.
I concur. I'll make a motion for an executive session.
And a second.
Tillis,
Yes.
Ledoux,
Yes.
Prayer,
Yes.
At this time, we Okay, we're reconvening. Mr. Sanders, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I have your case. Your case was awarded to me, so I'll be voting first. I'm going to vote do not revoke.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Lanu?
My vote is to do not revoke, but I will ask that PNP does a monthly phone check for 6 months just to keep you where you need to be, some accountability. And I do appreciate your conduct while you've been on supervision, other than this particular issue.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Prater?
I concur with that. I think that he served 9 or 10 months on this mess up that he had here, and it was it's believable the way he explains it on Facebook, and I wouldn't mind seeing the pastor have his passcode for his phone and hold him accountable. And would that suit you, Pastor? Check his phone. I can't order that or anything like that, but I would.
Yes, sir. I don't
would-
think he would have a problem with that.
No, sir, not at all.
Sounds good to me then. All hands on board then, and let's hold him accountable, and he's done good so far, and let's let him continue. My vote's not to revoke.
Okay, Mr. Sanders, don't let us down and don't let your pastor and your father down. This concludes our business today, and you have your vote is today is do not revoke. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're signing off, and this finishes up our business for today.
Yes, sir.